Listen up, maggots. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse.
And we're recording. Alrighty, I like to call this one Keeping It Casual with Ken. This is part one of a two-parter. Part two will be Staying Lazy with Zazie.
I love it. You improv that right on the spot.
Yeah. There's not many words that rhyme with Zazel, so you got to get creative. Yeah, this is just an impromptu little recording, hanging out with a mate, talking Joes. Why not? So
Right.
my topic that I wanted to bring up was G.I. Joes that may not be considered a part of G.I. Joe. So we've got things like the Mortal Kombat line, the Street Fighter line. And it can dive a little bit deeper and go into the core potentially, which is definitely not G.I. Joe, but something that I definitely mixed and matched when I was a kid. So yeah, I mean, have you got an opinion, a hard opinion on that, Ken?
See, G.I. Joe was one of those lines, given the imaginative nature of it, the very inclusive themes and everything that it had. We all had our own headcanon for G.I. Joe. Like there was that other line, something Commandos. It came in those 2-packs. The two figures were one on top of the other, and the big card. If I'd known that this was going to be the impromptu topic, I would have I would have looked up exactly what it was called. But that's why it's impromptu, right? No time to prepare, test your skills on the spot. My buddies are going to kill me for not remembering, but I mean, we all had our own headcanon, right? Like what's official versus what isn't.
Right.
I don't know. The core figures seemed like they could be standalone enough on their own, but like if you had one guy you just really liked and you fit with one of your with either one of your subgroupings, or he just looked good in a vehicle, you just kind of take that figure and you'd put it there. I mean, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter were officially released by Hasbro, basically under the G.I. Joe line. But then it's kind of like
Street Fighter 2 was under the G.I. Joe line. Mortal Kombat was not branded as G.I. Joe at all. And then you've got the Street Fighter movie line, which was a lot of repaints. But again, not branded as G.I. Joe. The thing about so with the core, we didn't mind them as a kid. Like we knew the difference between G.I. Joe and the core, right? And as kids, I didn't know how to pronounce the core, so we'll call them the corpse.
I did too.
Yeah. It's just it's a kid thing to do. I think a lot of kids did. But a lot of them fit in well with the Dreadnoks specifically. There were a few Aussie characters in there. Boomerang Billy, I believe, was one. And so we could gravitate a little bit more onto those sort of characters. And I know that they're not specifically G.I. Joe, but for me, they were definitely side by side with them. And those were generally the ones that. If you had some pocket money, you made a choice. Like, can I get one Joe or can I get a handful of the core? And depending on if you're standing in the toy aisle and you might not see, one G.I. Joe that jumps out at you, you might just decide, a handful of the core will help boost to those ranks, which is generally what would happen for us. Or we'd get them from, grandparents and stuff like that didn't really know the difference. We were still fine with it. We still had fun with them. Probably treated them a little bit more rougher than we would our more expensive Joes. But so the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I've been on a hunt for the Street Fighter Joes and the Mortal Kombat Joes so that I can incorporate them into the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship, because a lot of them make good doubles for professional wrestlers anyway.
Yes.
And case in point, I do have one here in front of me, which is, it's probably got a bit of dust on it now, but the Street Fighter movie.
Yep.
Edmund Honda. Honda.
Yep.
This one will be coming out of his bubble and making an appearance. And you see a lot of chatter where people will say, nah, not part of it. Not part of Joe, even the ones that are labeled G.I. Joe, But I always thought it was a great idea.
It certainly was. Now, I can hazard a guess which wrestler E Honda's probably going to end up being.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
little, it's a
Yeah.
little bit on the obvious side, but a lot of non-wrestling fans might not know it's going to be Yokozuna.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be an
uh,
interpretation of Yokozuna. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's correct. Just like how
Mm.
the Hitman is the Hitman, and Brazil's Warrior was kind of like the Ultimate Warrior, the
Right.
way you
Yeah.
did those.
And
And
yeah,
then uh,
Macho
the
Monkey Wrench.
Macho Monkey Wrench. Yep. So the way it is there with Street Fighter, a lot of people, I find that they tend to reject some of the stuff that's past a certain year of Joe's anyway. A lot of people only like it up to 1989, 1990. I
Yeah.
myself went a little bit back and forth because when I was born in '82, right? So by the time I was old enough to get into GI Joe, we were into the Tiger Force, and
Yeah.
by the time the Deke series came up, is it Deke or DIC? I think it's Deke. I think that's
It's
actually how
Deke.
they say
Yeah.
it. Deke. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was like 10, 11 years old, and I could appreciate the Joes more, so I got into a lot of the '92 stuff. I was around when the Street Fighter stuff came out.
Hmm.
But then in the early 2000s, when I got back into Joe's, I looked at Joe's and I understood exactly why those Joes from 84, 85, 86 are just much more popular than the ones in the 90s. So for that
Right.
reason, a lot of people reject things like the Street Fighter Joes. I think it's a good side canon. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good alternate universe. Universe. Sorry, stuttering as I haven't had enough to eat today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no, we don't have to edit that out.
Just keeping it lazy with Zazie.
Lazy with Daisy. What did we say the other one was?
It was
Something with
casual
Ken.
with Ken.
Casual with Ken. Casuals with
Yeah.
Ken. Yep. That's why we have both our logos on here. You can pretty much
Yeah. Yeah.
tell. It's you got the Slaughterhouse logo at the bottom, and you got the Toykennections logo at the top. Yeah, I'd actually forgotten that the Mortal Kombat line was just O-ring figures that weren't actually branded as GI Joe, and I think
Yeah.
I may have seen some of them on the Yojo website, the Yojo.com site. Maybe not
Yeah.
officially as like a year there that you could click on, but like
Mm.
somewhere on their site they had them. So I just kind of remember including them in my own head. And I should probably check the book behind me whether or not they count the Mortal Kombat figures in there, but I don't think they do. I think it
Interesting.
ends with Street Fighter. So,
Well,
or not
probably. Yeah. Yeah.
ends with '94, not ends with Street Fighter. But yeah, but that 1993 year where the Street Fighter figures came out was a pretty good year, I thought, overall.
Well, you've got some easy ones that would mix in well. So Guile being an obvious
Mhm.
easy fit for GI Joe. I suppose if we were looking at Cobra, then M Bison would fit in as a natural as well. Then you do
Yes.
have characters like Blanca, which is a little bit of a harder sell. But then, having said that, you also do have, those space aliens that ended up turning up in GI Joe officially. So, I mean, yeah, where do you draw the line? But then it raises an interesting question too, though, Ken, is that what about Action Force and their established characters outside of G.I. Joe, like Quarrel, for instance? Like, is that officially a part of it, as far
Yeah.
as headcanon is concerned?
So I'll address the first part first there. With regards to
Sure.
Street Fighter, I was also thinking that Ken and Ryu's martial arts, that they do, I could see someone working that in so that like this is either a spin-off or like a sister clan of the Arashikage somehow. It's a
Right.
little
Yeah. Yeah.
different because it's not because they're not using bladed weapons and whatnot. They're using like fireballs and dragon punches and hurricane kicks and whatnot. So I always thought that could also work
Yeah.
somehow. As for the whole Action Force thing, I was actually gonna bring that up, and I was thinking that I think it was 1985. It's funny, we just had Tony on. We actually need him here for this one.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to go off memory and what I've learned from the Action Force book by Brian Hickey, Patty Lennon, and Dave McDonald there, as well as from Tony's channel. But I think it was in 1985 they switched to the O-ring anyway, and
Mm.
then that was in Palatoy still had it. Then I think 87 to 89 they go to International Heroes, which is basically their equivalent of GI Joe. So I think the question you're asking is the 82 to 84 years before they made the full
Yeah. When
switch.
they were first making them bendy figures, as Space Commander would call them.
Yes, like the five POA figures, and I think a lot of the pilots or the drivers were the O-ring figures, so that they could
Yeah,
bend their knees so they could sit in the
yeah.
vehicles. I think was
But
the reason.
they got different names though. They got different names and different colors before they incorporated characters like Flint and so forth.
Yes. So like Coral will always be Coral. She was never meant to be Scarlet, I don't think.
Yeah,
As an example, Stalker was always meant to be Stalker. He's never meant to be Snake Eyes, right?
yeah,
So I would think that that's see. Here's the thing about that, right? Since Hasbro managed to acquire the Action Force license for a time and the characters, right? We know that they don't have that license now,
right.
but it's one of those things like they end up retroactively counting it as part of the continuity. And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't read much of it, but the IDW comic run does incorporate those Action Force and Red Shadows guys in.
Right.
And I do like the Devil's Due comic run that I'm literally in the middle of reading, like this run right now. Some of the issues from the earlier part of that run have a Red Shadows grouping in there. They're not
Right.
the
Yeah.
Black Major, Baron Ironblood Red Shadows, but they have an offshoot of the Red Shadows in there. So I think they sort of just bring them in retroactively, same way that. And it's funny how I compare everything to either wrestling or Transformers, but you know me by now. I'm a. So I was gonna say I was a one-trick pony, but that's two tricks. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm a slightly better than a one-trick pony. Um, but like how GoBots, you can all of a sudden, like if you were to
Right.
read Transformers canon today, all of
Yeah.
a sudden like Leader One or Psykill might suddenly show up in there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
difference with GI Joe and Action Forces at some point, namely 1985, they actually converged, right? So
Mm.
trying to get that pre-convergence point and seeing how that works in that part's retroactive. Whereas with Transformers, for example, the whole GoBot scenario is
Yeah.
retroactive,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Or
I mean,
like
it just seems
how,
like
yeah,
fans are more accepting of bringing in the Action Force characters than they are accepting Street Fighter as legitimate GI Joe action figures. So
yes,
I mean, I think it. I mean, I guess it also depends on if you were a fan of Street Fighter to begin with, is whether or not you might find that they can or cannot be included in your collection of Street Fighter, or whether or not they're essential to your complete collection of GI Joe. But I mean, I'm struggling to think of one that's considered a bad Street Fighter figure. I mean, you've got some that are
you
obviously
got me looking
better.
now.
Yeah, go and
Right.
have a look. Like,
Well,
because
yeah.
this is a fully new sculpted mold for GI Joe that you've never seen before.
Well, yeah. And you can't exactly
That's
just go and
pretty.
reuse. Well, I guess you can. You can put different garb on him.
Yeah, but
But
then
you're
you've
right.
got
There is, I wasn't a fan of the head scan on Ken, right?
right.
Um, but for the most part, and the hair on Guile just looked really cheesy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I kind of like it. Interestingly, the prototype for Guile used the Sergeant Slaughter body
Uh
and the
huh.
head of Bulletproof.
Really?
Yeah, for the
Well,
prototype. If you look at
interesting.
prototype images, back of the box of some of the stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I don't see Mortal Kombat considered as part of the line here. So it's a good thing
Well,
I grabbed this book. I literally just grabbed it as background, and now I'm actually making use of it.
I'm trying to remember when the Mortal Kombat stuff even came out.
I thought it was 94, right?
Yeah, because
Because
these
if I'm
ones are
not mistaken,
93. This is a
because if I'm not
93
mistaken, the
release.
movie was 90. When was the movie 95? I can't remember the exact date of the movie anymore. But yeah, that's like you said, they didn't use a lot. They didn't reuse a lot of the sculpts, right? Maybe they reused some arms.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't come fully prepared for this, but um, God, there was a character I thought that looked a lot like Vega. I think it's Bonsai from Ninja
Yeah,
Force.
yeah.
Looked a lot like Vega, and until I got, and I no, that's right. I don't think I ever got a Vega as a kid, and I literally used Bonsai as my Vega just for that reason.
Vega didn't even come with claws, which was madness.
But Bonsai did,
Yeah, yeah. But I think
which is the
Vega would
funny
have fit
part.
in pretty well with Ninja Force stuff.
Oh, he easily would have. Yeah, there you go. There's Bonsai, right?
Does he have claws?
Yeah.
He doesn't have
Yes.
the claws either.
Oh no, he doesn't. He has the sickle and the
Yeah.
and other weapons. Never mind.
Maybe
Huh.
Slice and Dice. One of those two may have had the
Yeah. See,
claw.
it's funny
If you
because I was
name
collecting.
Slice and Dice, one of them should have claws, surely.
Well, the version 2 of Slice does not have it. Let's put it that way. That's what it says here. I'm trying to figure out which one has claws other than version 2 Storm Shadow. I'm trying to figure it out. Somewhere right now, one of our viewers is screaming into the camera. They're like, man, when it's just these two guys, they're freaking useless. No Slaughter Daughter, no Space Commander, no Todd, nobody from
Yeah.
3POA,
Yeah,
no Joe Berg, like
struggling on
they're like,
our own.
they're like, what are these guys?
While,
What can these guys actually do on their own? It's like,
while you're looking at Ninja Force, can you read out the name of the yellow Ninja Force character with the tiger stripes on him?
oh, that would have been TJ Bang, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to see how I pronounce it?
Because on the commercial it's pronounced as Shabang.
That's what I was actually as a kid I always read it as TJ Bang, and then I think
that's how I did. Yeah.
So it stayed with me in my head. And then I was actually in the Devil's Due comic run, the one I always obsess about. He's actually a character in there, and I started looking it up on the internet. And I think people on one of the, I can't remember which forum, was saying it's actually pronounced as Chabang or Shabang, something like that.
Yeah.
But now
like
that you told me that the commercial pronounces it as Shabang or something along those lines, I
Wow,
know not to call
similar.
it TJ Bang. Right.
Well, I still call it TJ Bang, and on his tank back in the day, my handle was TJ Bang.
Sorry.
And people used to, yeah.
StreamYard has a backwards thing where if I pull the book back, I think I'm pulling it forward. It's the left and right is also messed up, so that's why I can't seem to angle the book properly.
I still call him TJ Bang. Yeah, and he was my favorite Ninja Force character. Off topic, but yeah.
I thought he was really cool. But so I don't know. Like I like to retroactively consider those early Action Force guys as part of GI Joe, and I think that those 4 sub teams just fit in really, really well. And some of those first 12 figures would probably fit in really well too, at least thematically. Obviously, the 5 POA style is a little bit different. Though, mind you, I do display my original Red Shadows with my Cobra figures right now, and unless I rearrange again. I'm actually getting pretty close to a full set of the original Red Shadows just in terms of the figures. I'm literally just missing the Jackal, the Destro.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've still got a box of them to go through with Space Commander. But I saw that you recently got the O-Ring Red Shadow Trooper. Is that right?
Oh, yes. I did show you that. And yes.
Now that guy looks cool.
So that's a convention exclusive version. For people who don't know, there's the Red Shadows Trooper that came out in that first few years of Action Force in the 5 POA style. And then in 2010, they did a convention in the Shadows set where they turned a bunch of their guys into O-Ring style, including Black Major, who's an expensive figure. And that Red Shadows Trooper was a pretty expensive figure as well. It took me a while to kind of muster up the courage to get it, but then the vendor out here, who had like 6 of them to start, he was down to 2, and I finally just said, screw it. Last week's toy show, I just handed him some cash and said, let's go do it.
So it's a repaint of Cobra Commander, right?
The Red Shadows Trooper?
Yeah.
No, that would be Red Laser. That's the
Red Laser, right?
Of Cobra Commander, right? I'm not sure who the Red Shadows Trooper, whose parts they would have pulled from. I think the head is all original. But yeah, anyway, we're pretty unplugged here, so if we make a bunch of mistakes again, the crowd.
Yeah, like I know that there's one that's red that looks like Cobra Commander, but
that's
I'm still learning their names. Red Laser, okay. Well, Red Laser.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, because Action Force had a 5 POA character that looks like Red Laser, but is potentially just the Trooper.
That's who it is. That's who it is. It's either the Red Shadows Trooper or the Red Vulture, because the Red Shadows Trooper and the Red Vulture are the exact same mold, but the Red Vulture is a vehicle pilot that has black gloves on it.
Right, but even the 5 POA figure looks pretty similar to a Red Cobra Commander, if not.
Relatively, yes, actually, because I like when you mentioned it, I had to think about it again. So yes, you're right.
Considering the fact that they weren't known for G.I. Joe at that stage, they created a character that looks pretty similar,
Pretty much.
But yeah, I'll go back and have a look, and I'll look at it and I go, no, it doesn't. What am I talking about? But at this
Well, I
point,
have to
I'm
work my
almost
brain a
certain
little. Like I see what you're saying because of the basic design and the torso and everything like that, right?
I'm thinking
But
of the head.
the head is angled kind of funny, but it's got no mouth on the visor, so it's kind of like
Right.
okay,
I
right?
mean,
Like it, yeah.
Red, what's it called? Red Laser Trooper?
No, Red Laser is the
Yeah.
actual repaint of Cobra Commander, but then
Okay.
Red Shadows Trooper or
Red
Red
Shadow.
Vulture or
All
Red
right.
Vulture because
I'll just
they're
Google it to see if I know
yeah.
what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so from what I'm looking, I mean, it doesn't look exactly, but it looks pretty similar. Like if you were to repaint one of these Shadow Troopers in Cobra Commander colors, it would look pretty much like Cobra Commander, in my opinion. He just
Yeah.
chrome up the faceplate. Yeah, look, I'm sticking by it. I stand by my original. Like I know it's not the same character. They're all so similar name too.
They are, but yeah, retroactively, like I do agree. I'd love to consider Action Force as part of GI Joe. In fact, if I ever do a top 10, I've been mulling it over whether I want to do a top 10 toy lines type of video, kind of like how I did that top 10 playsets. But
Yeah.
like, are Action Force and GI Joe separate? I almost want to consider them one and the same because of that convergence point. You know what I mean? From
I
85
think
onward.
like once it gets to international, is it international heroes they call them?
Yes,
After the
87,
fact?
89.
Yeah. So before then, I think they're pretty separate. Like you couldn't you could argue that they're two different lines
Yeah,
before the merge.
the last year
But,
that Palatoy had them in '85, they did bring O-ring characters in, so that there is that part. But
yeah,
yes,
that's true.
the '82 to '84 years, they're quite different. But
Mm.
then, see, but if you count that, then you have to count GoBots as part of Transformers. You got to count WCW as part of WWE.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know, like.
I think there's an argument for both. Depending on where you draw the line.
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible where I draw the line sometimes. I mean, you saw how I did that top 10 list, right? Just to squeeze in that LJN steel or wrestling ring into the top 10. I'm like, if you put the cage on it, then it does count as a great playset of all time. They're like, you were just looking for a reason, man.
So where do you draw the line on Street Fighter then? Are you pro or con?
See, I'm pro, but I stop and I think about it for a second, right? I'm pro because of the age I was at, where I bought Street Fighter figures, because I was overseas when I saw them for the first time. I bought them, I brought them back to Canada. I think I bought them in something like it had to have been Hong Kong dollars or something. I can't remember where
Right.
exactly I was, and it was $29.99 Hong Kong dollars. And I remember I bought one for a friend, and I purposely left the price tag on.
Yeah, right.
And then he goes, and I still talk to this friend to this day, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna forget this story, so he'll probably think I'm full of it if he ever sees this. But he's gonna be like, "Whoa, this is an expensive figure," and I pat him on the back and I go, "Because you're a good friend." And his mom said something to the effect of, "I'm like, yeah, but what country did you get it in?" I'm like, "Snap, right?" And I wasn't quick thinking enough. I should have just, "Oh, I got it in the U.S." Right?
Yeah.
But
It's a thought that
yeah.
counts.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
I
mean,
don't know what that would have been, like $7, $8, maybe not even in Canadian dollars at the time. So
but the
anyway,
price tag looked like it was a lot more. Do you remember
yes,
what was
yes.
on it?
Say what?
How much was on it?
It was $29.99.
29. Oh, that's a lot of money back then.
I think it was, but no, but I think it was Hong Kong dollars or something. Like it was something,
Right.
or it was either, yeah, I can't remember exactly the country I went to. I'm pretty sure it was Hong Kong dollars, right? And I remember just leaving it there, and but that was only like something like $8 Canadian or something like that, which is like $6 American or whatever, right? So I just thought it was kind of a snarky thing to do, but I did it anyway. But yeah, no, this is a great topic. Now, did you have anything else to talk about vintage wise? Because you've got me thinking about the modern stuff now.
Yeah, we'll just go into it.
Because you've got GI Joe Classified, you got the 6-inch line, right? But if I'm looking at the way I collected Joes as a kid, you could throw anything into GI Joe because they had anything from space to aliens to eco warriors to ninjas. You could do anything. So, like, is there
to
anything
wrestlers?
to wrestlers? Well, yeah, okay. In terms of not a full line, but yes, you'd get, of course, our favorite man, Sarge, right?
Yeah. Sports stars like the Fridge.
Well, I was gonna say Fridge even got into the ring in WrestleMania too, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah.
so between that and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, anything goes for GI Joe, right? And I
Mm,
think Big Boa was supposed to be Rocky or something like that, right? So they were
right.
really trying to get anything and everything in there, right? So like if I'm thinking about Classified today, at least the better Classifieds, because parts of the first wave drives me a little nuts,
Mm,
but at least after Classified got a little better. I started to think about like what other 6-inch figures. Like, I mean, obviously a lot of people will look at Valaverse Action Force as something that either complements or goes with GI Joe. Is it the continuation of Action Force in the past? And that's like
right.
Palatoy now kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you also got to look at the 6-inch figures from Skeletron, because I was on the Skeletron Secret Lab page and I said something like, I counted out, I was like, man, if you get the wolf character and you got the 6-inch Skeletron character, but if you take the different head kits on the wolf character and the repainted version of it, I counted there was something like you get something like 5 different figures or 5 different characters, and then Ben jumped on and said, actually, if you look at the head kit swap properly, you've actually got 6 different characters. Because I think I was counting 2 of the
Oh,
characters.
right.
I mixed up 2 of
Yes.
the characters and I'm counting it as one. So if you get a
Yeah.
bunch of like the Red Shadows type of characters there, you've got the Valaverse Action Force, you've got GI Joe Classified. You got quite a bit in the way of
That's
modern
true.
6-inch
Yeah,
canon if
that's
you
true.
really wanted to go that route. You know,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like,
Right. So
wouldn't it
if
be
you
cool? Wouldn't it be cool to have Bone Collector from Action Force running around with Zartan from Classified, and you've got
yeah.
the Robo Skull flying overhead with the
Yeah.
Blood Wolf on the inside, right? I don't
Well, I
know,
mean,
like, yeah,
you've already got the connective tissue with Sergeant Slaughter, being that he was officially a GI Joe and now in the new Action Force,
yep,
and then Skeletron obviously being their own ties to Action Force as well. So
yeah.
really, if you wanted to, they could all be in universe.
In your
Yeah.
own head canon, because I mean,
Yeah.
Classified doesn't have its own, what do you call it, media right now. I guess it doesn't really need it. Action Force Valaverse has got its comic continuity that's kind of been slowly rolling out. I don't know what Skeletron and their Robo Skull line's gonna have.
Mm,
But you're right. In your own headcanon, the connective tissue is there for you to
yeah.
just sort of make up your own story as you go along, right?
Well, I mean, and that's the beauty of, because I was the beauty of collecting toys is that you can create your own head canon and
Well,
no
yeah,
one can tell you you're wrong. Because I used to uh, play kid with my Masters of the Universe. I remember when I was collecting Ninja Turtles, I was picking up those. What was that Disney line with? They had like it was like Baloo the bear, but he flew a plane. What was that
Oh,
one?
Tailspin? No.
Tailspin, right? I remember they
Tailspin?
came out with some characters which I thought worked pretty well with Ninja Turtles. So I plucked some of their characters and used them in my Ninja Turtle line. If it fit, well then if it fits, it sits. And yeah, I had no problem mingling and matching different lines and different scales. Even some of the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves characters made it into my X-Men playtime. Just I don't know, up to my mutants.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, they were the right size, right? And I mean, a lot of people put their Star Wars figures and their GI Joes together, or their
yeah,
Star Wars figures and their early Action Force, because they're both 5 POA style. They put
I
those
wonder if
together.
I wonder if I should use Darth Vader as my version of Vader, wrestling Vader, in coming down the aisle as Vader, and it's just Darth Vader.
Could you get the? I wonder if you could get the "It's time, it's Vader time" music going.
Yeah.
But maybe instead of doing the music, because you don't want to get a copyright issue, you
Mm.
just do the voice yourself.
Yeah, but do it as Darth Vader. Like, do my best James Earl Jones impression, and try and I can't do a very good James Earl Jones, but
Yeah, but
have the breathing in the background.
well, for his voice, yeah. But if you're gonna do the "It's Vader Time" song, you have to do it
Yeah,
in the way of the WWE Vader, using your own voice again to avoid the
yeah,
strike. But you don't have to play as much music to do that, so you could probably get away with it. But if you did that, I don't think you could do much of a match. He'd pretty much just show up, pull out his
yeah,
lightsaber, and somehow
yeah,
get disqualified or something. That's just
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
how I envision it, right?
Who came in wearing the glittered up stormtrooper helmet?
The what?
Who was that? There was someone came in, busted through a wall, wearing it's
Oh,
the only thing I know,
yeah, a
and
Shockmaster,
he's got the stormtrooper helmet.
the Shockmaster. Yes,
Yes, that's it. I didn't see
yeah,
any matches with Shockmaster in it. I can't remember who was under the mask.
yeah. But you saw matches with Typhoon or Tugboat, right? So because he was
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shockmaster character, then, so Fred Ottman, right?
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a ridiculous gimmick, but not as much as that turkey thing, the gobbledygook or whatever it was called.
So
But anyway,
I
so
was yeah. Sorry, we're going off topic.
no, it's fine. I did get a little off topic, but bringing it back to what is considered GI Joe and what isn't. Let's talk
By the way,
fun school
you're
for a
starting to
second.
you're starting to lag a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's just
Yeah, not
Wi-Fi.
yeah. You're still better than the other time when you were concerned about lagging. You're not lagging
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Like you're not. I'm not missing words, but still.
perfect. I'll
Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
then.
Oh,
So fun school.
sorry.
Uh, the thing about fun school is that there was a long time where uh, nobody had any interest in them. They were just considered, I guess, subpar GI Joe. But now they go up from sometimes hundreds of dollars, depending on which one it is. And so, for what wasn't originally considered for collectors a part of GI Joe, is now actively being sought.
Yep.
In particular, I mean, for me, Super Cop is one that's definitely always on my radar. I was lucky to pick up a few before they really skyrocketed. Even outside of Fun School, you got the Argentina stuff. Was that Plastorama? Yeah, but anyway,
Yep.
back onto Fun School though. What's your opinion on those?
Well,
Because they're hit or miss for me.
I mean, like Fun School, because those are India, Russia, just like how Plastirama and Estrella are from South America, right? Look, a lot of companies like Masters of the Universe, they release stuff overseas, right? So then
Yeah,
it wouldn't have the usual stamp on it, right? Like Transformers, they had in Italy they had Gig, in Brazil they had Estrella, just like they had um, here, sorry, just like they have for GI Joe.
mhm.
Takara continued producing figures in Japan well past, well, I shouldn't say well past, but that were different, that were not released in North America, right? Like a
Yeah,
lot of the Transformers, Master Force, and Victory figures, not all of them made it to both countries. So that's different because the majority still overlaps,
yeah, yeah,
right? Yes, for every Fun School Super Cop or Fun School superhero who's supposed to be their rendition of Superman,
yeah,
they've got 30 characters that are the same,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Half of which are either the same color scheme with a slightly lighter pattern, or a different color scheme but the same mold and the same name, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I got to be honest. I love Fun School. You and I haven't talked about it much, but I did it on my Toykennections Toy Collection virtual tour for GI Joe. I did show some of my Fun School figures, and I'm slowly working through them. For some reason, when I get carded GI Joes, I want them to be Fun School for some reason,
Mm,
right? I know some people, they like when they buy carded. If they want to go more economical, they buy the 25th anniversary versions, which aren't that economical anymore, but they were. Some people prefer
yeah,
to have the really, really high end 80s original carded Joes. And I go and I say, that flimsy cardstock that the Fun School had, the funky colors, the fact that it says Fun School, the fact that it's Russia or India, that gives me like a certain charm to it. It's still old school, but there's just a twist to kind of draw me to it in this sort of like innocence fashion that makes everything old feel new again. And that's why I really love the Fun School stuff.
Well, it's got character. You know, as you look at the card art, the feel of the cardboard, the flimsiness of the bubble. It's just, there's just something about it that is so chaotic and yet so, I mean, collectible.
Mm-hmm.
It's collectible, but it's chaotic. And it's like you're trying to find, even with the Plastorama Sergeant Slaughter, trying to find one of those where the bubble hasn't cracked and the swagger stick's missing. It's almost impossible, you know. Yeah. Having said that, I do have one that's actually got 3 swagger sticks inside it, which sort of makes up for the ones that don't have. Yes.
By accident?
So it's got 3 swag sticks. Yeah. And it's got no mustache painted on it.
You might
have no mustache.
You're gonna have to do like a 2-minute short video on that just to show us, because it's an interesting error figure to have.
I actually have another one which I don't think has a swagger stick in it, but his torso isn't painted.
How did you end up with these?
So just one of those things, yeah.
Walking by a toy show and dig through a bin like, oh, look at this?
No, I've never found any locally. They're all just, you know, eBay, or someone will be selling them on Facebook. I think those 2 are picked up on Facebook. And in fact, I think they hit me up and let me know that they had them. And I was like, yeah, cool, I'll take them.
Well, it's funny, yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Super Cop, because I've got the Sergeant Slammer for you here, which is the Valaverse Action Force one, right? Cool. And you know, it's so funny because as I was packing it up, we obviously are still completing our deal because I got to send you more stuff and I got to figure out the size of the box. A thought crossed my mind when I received it, because I didn't think it when I ordered it. I was like, when I pulled out the Slammer out of the box from Valaverse headquarters, I looked at it myself. I said, "This is it. This is the trade piece that's going to get me a Super Cop off of Basil." That's what I thought at first when I opened out of the box, and then I looked up current price of Super Cop, and I went, "Yeah, no."
Yeah.
No matter how desperate you were, I could never make that deal, because like Super Cop goes for a certain amount, and yes, I understand Slammers will probably go up, but I don't feel good about doing that, because like I know that in this particular case it was 60 American plus domestic shipping to the US, reshipment to Canada. I may have paid 85, under 90 American for sure, even with all the extra shipping and the import fees and everything. I'm like, yeah, that's not, there's nowhere near the league of a Super Cop, unfortunately, yet, but you're going to get it long before it's off market, and long before the price skyrockets there in a few years.
Well, yeah, look,
because things always go up when they go off market, right? But, you know, but you'll never sell it, so it doesn't, you'll never sell it, so it doesn't matter.
No, things very rarely leave my collection.
And I was like, man, what happened to the price of these Super Cops? Like 5 years ago, they weren't worth this, right? I could have made this trade 5 years ago. Where was this figure then? Where was the Slammer then?
Well, I used to be able to pick up a Sergeant Slaughter, just a Triple T Sarge. I used to be able to pick up a Triple T Sarge without the Triple T, without the accessory, for $10.
Yep, I remember those.
And days. So, yeah, and
now it's $30, right?
30 plus, yeah. It's no longer affordable to army build like it used to be. But I wasn't setting out to army build originally, Sergeant Slaughter figures. It just happened by accident.
Yeah.
And then, just one of those things.
I love your determination, though. But like, if you were going to be, for lack of a better term, obsessed with a character, I'm glad it was a Sergeant Slaughter. Right.
Yeah. So. I've yet to meet anyone else that's as ambitious in collecting Sergeant Slaughter G.I. Joes as I am, or anything.
To this level. I got at least one friend who loves Sergeant Slaughter and gets a lot of them, but doesn't have the goal of 777. Let's put it that way.
It's mad. It's madness. It's an obsession.
Well, you're
Sick.
more than halfway there now, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I get. Yeah, I'm closer to 400 now than I am to 300. So yeah,
Good.
it's I don't think I actually actively started counting how many I had until I decided that my cutoff was going to be 777. Right, and then as I was counting them, because I didn't think that I had that many, because you don't think when you're looking at just a pile of them that it's that much, but you start counting them and tallying them up, it's just they very quickly got to the point where I was like, I can't believe I have over 300. This is crazy. What
Pretty
happened?
amazing, isn't it? It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Because I remember seeing a little while ago, probably on his tank, where someone had a huge collection of Serpentor. I was like, that'd be cool if I had that with Sarge. And I've now since seen people army building the fridge. I've seen that. I've seen people army building Big Boa. An impressive one that I saw was people hardball but with different heads to make up a baseball team. So yeah, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, everyone's got their collecting habits.
Yes.
I'm not judging. I don't judge.
Yeah, I'm pretty boring with my army building. They're downstairs. Otherwise, I show them to you. But like when they re-released in the O-ring scale the Action Soldier from 1994.
Yeah.
That's the one that I insisted on army building because I saw it as a good sort of a green shirt. Which way? Camera.
I see. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that one. The thing about the Action Marine that bothers me is that the arms look like they're too low down on the torso.
Okay, so the Action Marine is on the next. Oh, come on. There, you finally see it?
No.
No.
There it is. Right, a little bit more to the side. No, wrong direction.
See, don't you hate the? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it looks like the arms are too far down on the torso.
Yeah. Depending on which one you get, mine aren't so bad in the ones that I got in real life.
Yeah.
But what I like about the pattern of the Action Marine is that it looked like it could fit with the Action Force Z Force.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I like about it, right? Yeah. So I prefer to use those ones as army builders, even though they're supposed to be like tribute figures. I'm like, but those look good as army builders, right?
Yeah.
If I had more space, I'd do it that way.
Do you consider those then to be a part of the core line of G.I. Joe? I mean, they're a throwback. They're a throwback to the yeah. Absolutely.
And another, we'll get into this another time as well, but like Joe Colton, G.I. Joe, to me, that guy. Yeah. That guy, quintessential G.I. Joe all around. Like that's one of the issues I have with having to cut off at a certain year. Is you miss stuff like that, right? But then do you have to continuously go through from whatever your last favorite year is all the way to those guys? Do you have to count every year in between? Not necessarily. Like you said, it's not like we both said here. It's all about headcanon, right?
That's true. Because if you cut off at 94, you don't get Tiger Force Jinx, do you? When did she come out? The one that looks like Battle Cat.
The 2000s. Yeah, the 2000s, I think.
Action Man in that scale, the repaint of Tracker.
Yep, that's right. So what ends up happening, and I got to look that one up, and Ron Connor sent me a book, and I'm pretty sure the Action Man character's in there, so I need a bit of a refresher. But I think I know which one you're talking about.
He came in a 5-pack of Night Force figures.
Because you've also got an Action Man character in your Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship. So, yes. So, yeah, anyway. Did we draw any conclusions here, or did we sort of just talk about what we like?
Definitively, I'm just going to put it out there. I believe that Street Fighter 2 definitely is a part of G.I. Joe, and Mortal Kombat and this stuff, the movie stuff, fits in seamlessly with G.I. Joe. If you want to draw the line somewhere, you have to draw the line. You can't say E Honda isn't a GI Joe and then accept space aliens. You got, you know what I mean? Like, it's part of it. As far as I'm concerned, I think it fits.
I second that because I tend to be more of an inclusive type of person myself, just in terms of my mentality.
Yeah, well, anyway, it wasn't exactly something that I wanted to change anyone's mind, so I just thought it was an interesting point of conversation. But yeah, all right, we've reached its natural conclusion on this one, and we'll jump onto your topic over on your channel.
Love it. We'll definitely do that. All right.
Perfect. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below.